Hello, hello, and hello to my loved ones. How are you doing? This is Love Marlene 411, and on this channel, we focus on trauma healing. And I believe that when we focus on our inner healing and self love and reflection and healthiness in connection with our faith, there's nothing that we can't do. We build stronger individuals, stronger families, and stronger communities. So, welcome to this week's episode of the Sip and Chat. I'm still waiting for my co host to join me. And when she is available, she will jump in. This week on the Sip and Chat, we're going to be doing a topic that I never really thought about. I know last week it was, I don't remember who, but they recommended that we do this test. So we're going to be talking about it and all of those things. How are you guys all doing? How are all my loved ones on this Thursday? I hope you all are doing well. Exceptional, actually, is what I want to say. I hope you all are doing exceptional because I am doing great myself. Um, hey, John, how are you doing? Welcome in. I hope my volume is okay. Today, I am on my tablet because many reasons. I can't be on my phone today. So today I'm going to be on the tablet. I hope the volume is okay. I hope you guys can hear me very well. Today on the Sip and Chat, we're going to be talking about, it sounds good. Okay, good, John. Thank you so much. So this week we're going to be talking about the ACE test, ACE. And if you guys have never heard about it, it means Adverse Childhood Experience Test. And what it is a 10-question screening survey or a quiz, and it's supposed to measure the number of traumatic events that a person experienced before the age of 18, okay? I don't mean after 18. This is supposed to measure like how much trauma did you go through before the age of 18. And it includes things like abuse, neglect, or household dysfunction. And I think that this test was kind of eye-opening for me. Um, and it's just a 10-question test, and the higher the score, ranging from 0 to 10, it correlates to you having a higher risk of adult health problems such as the C word, cancer. YouTube don't like those words. Another one is depression and heart disease. And I never actually thought that some of these things that you go through in your childhood could actually be related to your childhood experiences. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that this ACE test talks about. What are some of the details? Well, the purpose is for us to assess the risks for toxic stress and to guide us into preventative care by identifying potential long-term health risks. So when I really thought about this, like what really went on with me, and I wish you guys to be thinking about this. If you guys have pen and paper available, if you're able to go into your Google search engine and put in this test, you can pull up the questions as well. And I want you to score yourself honestly, because that's what this test is all about. Okay. Now, let's go into some of the questions asked. Some of the questions asked, it covers childhood, including emotional, physical, and sexual abuse, okay? Parental separation and household challenges like incarceration, substance abuse, and etc. Why it's important to ask these questions is if we don't ask ourselves questions now in our adulthood, Whether we want to believe it or not, you scar either your current children, grandchildren, relatives. It affects your romantic relationship. It affects a lot of things. And it's all up to us to be honest and then to move forward with this information. When I really started to think about after taking the test and being honest with myself, I didn't realize that so much things happened to me. So I'm waiting for my co-host to really get into the test, but I'm asking if you guys can pull up the test and what this test actually is supposed to do. If you have a score of four or higher, that means that you had a pretty traumatic, childhood. I see someone just popped in. Let me see. B. How are you doing? Welcome in. Welcome in to all the loved ones. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe. So, I'm going to talk about some of these questions, and then when my co-host comes in, we'll circle back and hear what my co-host has to say. Okay? Let me pull up the test here. And then I'm going to get into some of these questions. Hold on. I had it pulled up, and you know how it goes. Those of you who are content creators, that it's not until you actually go live, things disappear. Oh, my day was great. Thank you so much, Roby. How was your day? And how was all the loved ones' day? I was chit chatting with John before the live even started, and something that I like to say it to not only myself and the people that I love. I also like to spread that out because I am a life coach, and I I like to remind everybody that there are no bad days. It's just the people. It's the people who are in your surrounding area that can make it a little more challenging for you. There's no bad days, just people who bring in the drama, the negativity, and foolishness, right? So my days are always great. It's just a challenge sometimes dealing with some individuals. So let me pull up this test here. Let's see. Okay. Here it is. Okay. So I'm going to make this bigger so I can read it. Let me read what it says. Adverse childhood experiences questionnaire for adults. Okay. This test is for our relationships and experiences, even those in childhood, can affect our health and well-being. Difficult childhood experiences are very common. So this test is because we want to find out, have any of these experiences that we're going to be talking about below, how are they affecting your health today or may affect your health in the future? This information will help you and your provider to better understand how to work together, to support you in the best way possible. And I want to put that out there, a little bit of a thing. This is not medical advice. This is just for informational purposes only. Myself and my co-host, Miss Nexie, we talk about these topics so that you guys can get yourself thinking about some things. We think sometimes that we are okay, and sometimes we're not. And it's okay to not be okay. But what's important is for us to ask questions, have positive conversations, and get feedback, and then get into the the healing, because this channel is all about a healing journey. Okay. Now, the first question in this survey is: did you feel that you didn't have enough to eat, had to wear dirty clothes, or had no one to protect or care for you. So if you had that, then you would put a check a yes, or you check no. If you do, then you give yourself a point, okay? That question was the first one. Did you feel that you didn't have enough to eat, had to wear dirty clothes, or had no one to protect or care for you? That's the first question. Okay. I'm going to go through all the questions and then I'm going to circle back and I'm going to tell you what I got. And when my co host gets here, we're going to hear what she has to say about hers. Okay. So, second question is, did you lose a parent through divorce, abandonment, death, or another reason? Okay. Did you lose a parent through divorce, abandonment, death, or another reason? Okay. If you did, give yourself a point. If you didn't, leave that one as a zero. Number three, did you live with anyone who was depressed, mentally ill, or attempted I call it deleting yourself. YouTube don't like that S word. So, unaliving yourself, something like that. Did you have to experience that? Did you live with okay. Did you live with anyone who was depressed, mentally ill, or attempted to delete themselves? That's question number three. Number four, did you live with anyone who had a problem with drinking, using drugs, including prescription drugs? Give yourself a point if that's the case, or no, a zero. Number five, did your parents or adults in your home ever hit, punch, beat, or threaten to harm each other? Did your parents or adults in your home ever hit, punch, beat, or threaten to harm each other? Number six, did you live with anyone who went to jail or prison? Did you live with anyone who went to jail or prison? Okay. Number seven, did a parent or an adult in your home ever swear at you, insult you, or put you down? That's number seven. Did a parent or an adult in your home ever swear at you, insult you, or put you down? That's number seven. Number eight, did a parent or adult in your home ever hit, beat, kick, or physically hurt you in any way? If that's the case, give yourself a point. Number nine, did you feel that no one in your family loved you or thought you were special? Okay? Did you feel that no one in your family loved you or thought you were special? If the answer is no, then give yourself a point. Number 10, did you experience unwanted, and you know I can't say the word, sexual contact? All those things, uh, SA, the M word, any of those sexual things. If any of those happened, unwanted contact, give yourself a point. Okay. So those are the 10 questions for the ACE test. Okay. Those are the 10 questions. Now, I am going to honestly share my things, okay? Because this is a channel where I share things transparently. I have no reason to not be transparent because I am on my healing journey, okay? So that first question on this test. the first question on this test is, did you feel that you didn't have enough to eat, had to wear dirty clothes, or had no one to protect or take care of you? See, for me, I feel like that's like a half a point for me because I most definitely grew up in a home where I had food to eat. I didn't have to wear dirty clothes. But then when it says if you had no one to protect you or take care of you, I think everything is a matter of interpretation. And it like it says, is this is for under 18. For me, at that time, I didn't feel like I had anybody who would stand up for me when things would happen when I was in elementary school. They would, it was one of those things. And you guys let me know in the comments if you grew up like me, where children were seen and not heard. It was like how your feelings, all of that was invalid, it was important, it was irrelevant, it was stupid, and most definitely you couldn't talk about your feelings. That was absolutely no way going to happen, but that was my experience. I can't say I know how anybody here feels because everybody deals with things differently. So that was my experience. So I would say most definitely, I wouldn't say on the other things, but most definitely when comes to um, feeling that I had people to protect me, I don't feel that I had people that protect me. I feel that in their own way, that I think that my parents did the best that they could. Because yes, I had two parents, both of them worked, and they absolutely did the best that they could. I always had food to eat. I always had clean clothes. I had a bed to sleep in. So in that area, yes, I was provided for. But at the same time, my thing is, I don't believe that I had emotional protection, someone to protect my emotions, someone to validate me and to tell me that I was loved and special. And if anything ever happened, I never felt like I had someone that I could run to and talk about my feelings. I think that I had to do a lot of absorbing my feelings, not really talking about how I felt. You just had to, push that to the back of the closet, ignore it, and do a lot of pretending. I don't know if you guys were like me and you did a lot of pretending. I did a lot of pretending growing up. And John says yes. Um, I did a lot of pretending growing up, pretending that things were okay when they weren't, and walking around with a plastic smile, not really saying how you felt, and your feelings were not really important to other adults at the time. It was all about adults, and it was being whatever the adult wanted you to do. It was just like, yes, ma'am, and yes, sir. But I think it was a very toxic way of being brought up, that you could never, they could do the same thing that they told you not to do. And it was okay for them to be toxic, judgmental, hypocritical, all of those things. But you couldn't be, you couldn't give, what they call matching energy. I feel like you weren't allowed to match the same energy that was given to you. And I don't like that. I most definitely don't like that, the adults could do anything they wanted to you. And then it was okay. That was okay. They could do that. And I don't think that that's right. John says that's how it was. Yeah, that is how it was. So okay, we're gonna move on to the next question. You said it earlier, seen and not heard. Yeah, and that is, and I think that that was one of the beginning stages of I think for me, that was my initial stages of having like trust issues because in those formative years, my early childhood, not having a place that I could run to and talk to. The ones that I talked to, and this is gonna sound crazy, but the only friends that I had was I had my stuffed animals, I had my Barbie dolls, I had my books. It may sound weird to people, but that's where that's how I kept my sanity by talking to my dolls and my teddy bears and getting immersed in imagination and books from a young age. I think that's the only thing that kept me from not being like snapping, as you could say, like being in a mental hospital because like growing up and it was just like an ice cold upbringing, um, but that's just how it was because back in the day, I don't know what was the age of your parents, but my parents were baby boomers. So that's what it is. Um, uh, John says you said it earlier. Seen and not heard. Right, John. Hi, Troy. How are you doing? Welcome. Troy says you can't go back and they won't ever understand. And do you guys know that when they don't talk about it or they won't admit their wrongs, for me that brought even more trauma. I remember when I finally got to my space where I felt strong enough that I was going to you know have that conversation and say, you did a lot to hurt me. You did a lot of things that brought me pain in my life. And I think that it really hurt me when my mother said to me, I was the best parent. I didn't do anything wrong to you. It's that victim mentality that they have. For me and my personal growth and healing and therapy and coming to that space, if you don't come to the space of healing within yourself, you can't ever see that, yeah, I have done things that has hurt my friends, my relative, whoever it is. People should always be free or feel free enough, feel comfortable that they can call you out and check you on things. But it just was not that way back in the day. It just wasn't that way. So I just, I don't know. I don't know what to say after that. So that was the first point. Okay. Did you ever feel that that you didn't have enough to eat, you had to wear dirty clothes, or you had no one to protect or care for you? Okay. So I already got one point. Um, okay. Let me see. I just saw a point, a comment from John. Do you think they thought by providing for you? I don't know, John, because I didn't have parents that would ever acknowledge their wrongs. So I don't know. I never had a mother that would say they were sorry for bringing pain to me. I did have my father. My father did, apologize for whatever he did, when he was immature, when he wasn't compassionate, when he wasn't a good communicator. My father did apologize for that, but my mother, she said it was all me. So she claimed the victim until she passed away. So that's just what it was for me. But that's what my mom used to say all the time. She turned it around on me and said, I was the best mother and I did everything good for you. And then she went to say, so I'm a bad mother and I never did anything right for you. That's the stuff that causes more pain to you. And it's the reason why there's a rift and so many problems within families because people are not willing to admit their wrongs and say, yes, I did that. I'm sorry I hurt you. Um, and I can't do anything to change that from what happened, but I'm sorry I couldn't give you what you needed at the time. I feel like if I had got that, a lot of healing would have happened for me. A lot. But I didn't get that. I got the she's still a victim. Always a victim, right? Let's go to question number 2. Question number 2. Did you lose a parent through divorce, abandonment, unaliving, not someone, not you taking your life, but, passing away or other reason? And for that, I can say zero because um, my parents both lived to be 80 years old. And um, yeah, they lived, my dad passed away in 2016. My mom passed away 7 months later in 2017. So I had both of my parents. So I didn't have that. So that one is a zero for me. You guys let me know when you get a point. Okay. And then we're going to add all these up. So far, out of the two, I have 1 point. Number 3, did you live with anyone who was depressed, mentally ill, or attempted to unalive themselves? So it says before 18. I'm going to have to give a point for that one because did I live with anyone? Yes. Mm, I have a special needs relative that lived with me that was mentally ill. And because of my upbringing, I've said it on many other videos. For the majority of my teen years, I tried to unalive myself so many times. And yeah, that's just what it was from my upbringing. I shared this with you to show you that you can go through something, you can go through many things, and you can learn. You can be what is it called? You can use your life as a testimony to show other people that I've been there. And just because you've been there, it doesn't mean it's going to be a permanent place and space. But I had to put a lot of work into myself to get from wanting to unalive myself. I had to deal with a lot of issues within myself, within being bullied and childhood trauma stuff. So that's how it was for me. So I definitely have a point for that one. So out of 3, I already have 2 points. This isn't looking good, and we're only on number 3. How are you guys doing out there? Number 4, did you live with anyone who had a problem with drinking or using drugs, including prescription drugs? For that one, I get a zero. I didn't have that as an issue in my childhood. But if you guys did, give yourself a point. Number 5, did your parents or adults in your home ever hit, punch, beat, or threaten to harm each other? And that question right there, I don't know if it's I don't know. That one is kind of I don't like the verbiage, the way that that question was written. If it said, "Did any adults in your home ever hit, punch, beat, threaten, or harm you?" Then I would definitely say yes. But I never saw my parents or siblings harm each other, but I definitely grew up in the pick your switch upbringing, and you were gonna get whooped. So is does that count, guys? Does that count as a point? I don't know, but I would say I would say if that's what we're going by, then yes, I most definitely am going to get a point. Okay. So let's go on to the next point. Next point is, let's see, we're on number 6. Did you live with anyone who went to jail or prison? Hmm. My answer is no. I never had anyone in my house that went to jail or prison. If you did, give yourself a point. We're going on to number 7. Did a parent or adult in your home ever swear at you, insult you, or put you down? Honestly, it's like how much time do we have on this point? I think in this one I probably could say every single one of them, yes, yes, and yes. Did a parent or an adult in your home ever swear at you, insult you, or put you down? I didn't have parents that sweared, but I definitely had parents that would insult me or say, like, put siblings at each other. Why can't you be like your brother? Or why can't you be like your sister? Or you never do anything right, or saying things like you're so stupid, things like that. So I definitely would say that was my childhood. A lot more insults than validation and support and encouragement. And I think that if you're a woman or a man of a certain age, that was just the times, you know. Those of you who are over 30 years old, you're gonna you probably went through that harsh children are seen or not heard, toxicity, no communication, lots of screaming, yelling, just trauma, anger, dysfunction, and disruption. So that's what it is. And that's what it was for me. So there's nothing really that we can do about that part, but that's what it was for me. It was a lot of making me feel like I was nothing. I was invisible, even though I was there. It was always like, oh, why is your hair like this? You should have hair like your sister. Or why can't you get grades like your brother? It was all I always felt in my upbringing that whatever I did or whoever I was never significant enough. I was never good enough. And I think that's why I used to be an overachiever or a perfectionist when I was in school, because I thought by getting great grades that I would win my I think I would win my mother or my father's love. hmm if you had boomer parents, you were a worker in the family. Yep. Every well, And that wasn't necessarily the case in my family. There were some who worked, and there were some who got a pass. And you had to do everything for them. But I feel like maybe that was just in my upbringing scenario. That was a thing that the girls did all the work, and the boys got to be princes and kings. But I think that's a conversation for another day. But I share everything openly and honestly over here. But yeah, you had to work hard. Well, at least the girls did. The next point, number 8, did a parent? Let's see if I can make this question bigger. Did a parent or adult in your home ever hit beat? Oh, okay. So here we are at this one. ever hit, beat, kick, or physically hurt you in any way? And I have to say yes. That's another point for me. Another point for me. And what honestly does that do to us being hit and beat? For me, I think for a long time I had issues with touch. I always thought if somebody was coming near me, I didn't want people to touch me. I had a problem with closed spaces. I now know that that was having panic attacks. I know that I had anxiety. I still suffer with anxiety. Yeah, it was the time, John. It was the time. Um, and honestly, I think because of the focus and things that was going on during that time, it was a hard time. And I don't know about you guys, if any of you guys were latchkey kids where you had to, you got a key was hidden, and you took care of yourself. There's a lot of kids during that time basically raised themselves, um, and were little mini adults, taking care of parents and grandparents, aunts, uncles, siblings. And that's one of the things that would really get to me, that you were doing everything that you could, trying to be a great child. At least I was. Like I said, I told you guys, I was definitely tried to be the overachiever and be perfect at school, you know, get amazing grades. And no matter what I did, I could never make my mother happy. My father that was a different story. My dad used to always tell me he was proud of me and things like that. But my mother didn't really did do that. It was always, you need to, if I got a B, why didn't you get an A, type of thing. But those were the times, right? Here's another one. Number 10. Did you experience unwanted sexual, all the things that happens, all those forms of SCXUAL, ABUSE. Did you experience any of that? And for me, that was a yes. Um, so if that happened to you, um, I'm so sorry. This is one of those topics where I have to put out a trigger warning, for anybody, because I'm not trying to trigger anybody. But this is a trauma healing channel where we talk about all of the things. And I know a lot of people during that time in the past, I would say past 20 years, that we didn't have those terms like RAPE and MOLEST, even though those words have always existed, but like there was no place to go and run and hide and talk about those things, because it still was a lot of embarrassment and shame attached to it. So if you ever admitted it, it was one of those things like you don't bring out, things of the past for you know, you keep your family secrets, right? But it gets heavy, I don't know about you guys, anybody who has ever said yes to, question number 10, it gets heavy, you know? And I think it's one of the reasons why a lot of kids act up at an early age, become promiscuous, have anger issues. I never went to the side of being promiscuous, but I definitely went to the side of I had a lot of anger. Um, I definitely got to where I was fighting a lot in school, getting kicked out. of school, always calling. I was always jumping on somebody for the slightest thing that somebody would do, and they would say, "You got to keep your daughter home from school again." And sometimes it was justified. People would do things to me, but sometimes it wasn't. It was just one little thing someone would say, and I would get set off. But it's one of those things that that's what it is. And I'm telling you guys, there's no way, even 10 years ago, that I could even admit that to myself, much less going live on social media saying, you know, X, Y, and Z happened to me. But here I am, and I do it because I want to say to anybody who has ever been traumatized, especially when it has been SEXUAL forms of abuse, that it's not your fault. And I spent a lot of years with feeling like maybe if I had been a better child. Maybe if I had, maybe if I had done this, or you go through that in your head. And I'm here to anybody who has ever been a victim of it, that it's not your fault. It's not. You're not to blame. It's the whoever did whatever they did to you, it's their fault. And you got to have a safe space to free your mind, to free your heart to say all of the things, right? You got to get those things out. So I wanted to say that to everybody. I spent many years blaming myself, being angry, um, bringing pain to people because I was in pain, hurt people hurt people. But when I got to finally admitting and talking about how I feel, and that's one of the reasons why I am definitely an advocate for SEXUAL ABUSC. I'm an advocate for it. And if there's anybody who needs support with that, my email is there, and you can always remain anonymous. You don't, but everybody has to have a safe space. And it's one of the reasons why I love my platform here, that I can open up and to um, not be afraid. Nobody's going to bully you here. Nobody's going to make you feel some type of way. We're just going to state our personal truth, share our story, and to say, we're not victims. We're speaking up. We're saying, yes, I was taken advantage of, but that is not going to break me anymore. Maybe it broke you for a while, but we're going to get into talking about some of the things that, um, ABUSC, what it does to us. We're going to save that for another episode of the Sip and Chat. So I wanted to say that to every single one of you, to if whatever it is, whatever happened to you in your childhood, this honestly was to be informative, to be encouraging, um, that you're not alone. I wished when I was younger, I knew that other kids like me, they were messed up, like in the head behind these things, feeling low self esteem and feelings of worthlessness and so many other stuff. But I want you guys to know you're not the only one that was verbally, emotionally, financially. We could go down all the list of all of the things that can happen to you in your childhood. You're not alone. You're not the only one. See, when you go from victim to victorious, there goes your power. And I'm so grateful to be in a space that I am no longer a victim, but I have victory. I have victory because I can speak about things without shame. I can empower other women. I can talk to other parents about, some of the age appropriate things that we should talk about at a certain age, like when should you be asking, what should you be asking, and etc. And why that's important because even if a child has some things going on and they can't talk to you, empower your children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, cousins, um, friends of family, and let them know that if you can't talk to me, you can't talk to your parents, siblings, whoever, talk to somebody. But, don't suffer for years. That's one thing that if nothing else gets in anyone's brain tonight, I want to say that empower your children. Here's my co-host, Miss Nexie. Okay.
Hello, Miss Marlene. Hi, everyone.
Hello. How are you doing?
It's been a busy day, let me tell you. How are
Oh,
you?
I'm doing okay. Miss Nexie. You came in at the perfect time because I just finished the 10 questions for my ACE test. So now you're up on the pedestal.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, back up. What are you doing?
You're like, wait a minute, hold on, backtrack.
Hey, I just work here, so I really don't know what you're doing.
Okay. So I last week it was somebody remember that was talking about the ACEs test, right?
Uh huh.
So I just shared the results of mine. You don't have to share the results if you don't want to, Miss Nexie, or we could just talk about it.
Let's talk
But
about it.
okay, so okay, before we do all that, welcome to the sip and chat. I've been talking for 47 minutes, and I haven't said yet. Welcome to the chat. This is my co-host, Miss Nexie. Welcome.
Thank you, Miss Marlene. Sorry that I am so late, but I was tied up in a very important
Yeah.
phone call that took longer than I wanted it to be, but here I am. Thank you for
Mm,
waiting, for being so patient with me.
no problem, Miss Nexie. Anytime. So, Miss Nexie, today we're talking about the ACEs test,
Oh.
and oh yeah, hmm I know. I got grunts.
Go on, go on.
Okay,
Talk to me, woman.
so
Talk to me.
so we're talking about for those of you who don't know, ACEs means Adverse Childhood Experience Questionnaire. So, you talk about these 10 questions because it's really for you and for, your doctor, physician to help you to assist you to get to a space of being in in an okay space. Like, how can they help you, sort of thing. If I'm
Mhm.
not saying, you can always correct me. Okay.
Okay.
So, we're going to go through these 10 questions. So, these 10 questions, they say that if you get four of these things checked off, like, yes, that happened to you, then you have had a traumatic childhood. But if you have lower than four, then you had a pretty good childhood. Miss Nexie, my
Mm.
score 7 out of 10.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. So oh, you don't have to share your score, but this is my channel and I'm just going to be because I feel like it's important for me having this channel to show other people like I'm not like, oh, I'm just on here reading from a book. I talk about trauma. No, I have been traumatized this. Yeah, I've been through some things in my life, but the point of this is that we don't stay as victims. We come from victim to victory because we get empowered, we learn, we heal, and talking about it will empower another person that you don't have to be stuck and just say I'm a victim forever. We can get therapy, we can do a lot of things, but anywho, we're going to get into talking about this. So, the first question is, did you feel that you didn't have enough to eat, had to wear dirty clothes, or had no one to protect you or take care of you? Your thoughts on that, Miss Nexie?
Um, I for me, I didn't feel not protected or neglected. What I we did have was our money. We were, we weren't rich. We were on the poor side of things, and we were in the middle of a war. So, as family goes, I felt supported and loved. But as the country as a whole, I was very unstable, right? Very scared and scarce on everything, food and medicine and everything else. It was very challenging to get by because again, we were in the middle of that. But family, no, I felt supported, protected, and loved.
That's wonderful, Miss Nexie. That's wonderful. Okay, number two. Did you lose a parent through divorce, abandonment, passing, or another reason?
Divorce.
Mm. You, Miss Nexie, I'm not saying anything you don't want to talk about. You can
No.
skip over it.
Oh, no, 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 no. Through divorce. My parents, well, they separated, and then I was 5 years old. My mom left the household, so we were raised by my dad. Left me with my dad when I was five. So later on, they divorced. So yeah, separation and divorce. I guess both, right?
Yeah, it's both because
Both.
they said it was a I think they said abandonment. Did they say that? Yes, they said abandonment, divorce, passing or other reasons. So I think that's a double, Miss Nexie.
Oh,
Yeah, divorce and abandonment.
they're both. Oh, okay.
Yeah. hmm I never thought about it that way, but I was like, oh, yeah, yeah, that's a tough one. So much people, this test has been like an eye opener for me, for real, Miss Nexie, because I was like, Miss Nexie, I was messed up.
Y- Miss Marlene, I think that and we're going off track here a little because I know I'm taking that test now, thanks to you, Miss Marlene. But
Mm,
I mean, you're quizzing me on that, but I feel that it was harder for me to understand why I reacted to certain things or why I behaved in certain ways in certain occasions, certain times, certain people. It's easier for me to understand now the why I'm feeling the way that I do. It's easier for me now at my age to express my like, dislike, or discomfort or comfort in those situations than it was when I was younger, because I don't know if it's because my children are grown, right? I raised them already. Always felt that I didn't have the luxury to feel a certain way or let my kids see a certain side of me because I didn't want to scare them, right? I didn't want them to feel neglected or worried or scared that they were going to have to go through the same thing or feel the same way I was feeling. Now that they're grown, they're out of the house, I can express myself more freely, and I know that they understand where I'm coming from because, they're grown. So I feel that those things that I couldn't cope with before, I couldn't understand how my parents sometimes behaved a certain way around us, why the refusal of my mother to be in the same room with my father, that dislike, that hatred, because it was some sort of resentment and hatred that she had towards him. He's resting in peace now, but I didn't understand why, you know that was happening, or why she didn't want to be in the same room, or why would she voice those things in front of us to make us feel very uncomfortable. I couldn't cope with that. It will make me very stressed out, and very anxious, and it hurt. But I couldn't say anything. I couldn't even, sometimes I couldn't even shield my kids from all the things that she will say. Now that I'm older, that I can actually voice those feelings and say, hey, stop, without worrying of how that is going to affect whoever is around me. I feel better because I can voice that. I can say, hey, don't call my father those names. He's not in this world anymore. Stop with the nonsense. And I can literally walk away not feeling anything, and I don't have to stay there, right? I don't have to put up with it. So I'm always now in the mode that every time I feel something, like, oh, now I can express. Oh, why is it that it's okay with me now to feel this way, and I don't feel like I have to pretend that everything is perfect and okay? Why am I voicing it? Why isn't worrying me? So it's a very different thing as you age, and as you get more mature and more comfortable with life, right? Is that probably,
Hmm.
I don't know if I'm making sense.
Miss Nexie, for everybody is different. I can't say how your experience is going to be. I feel like where you are at the phase in your life, like when you come to a space of healing, like you're ready to have the conversations, you're ready to face and whatever, and let yourself feel the pain, the sadness, the hurt, whatever, and admit, being honest and transparent. I think when you come to that space, your reaction is going to be different because now you're ready for the healing to take place. And I think a lot of people have never really understood how to heal. That makes
Mm.
it different too. Some people, I'm sure everybody wants to be healed and happy, but they don't do the work in order to do that. And the first step is to saying, whatever happens, not to every and anybody, but for within yourself, for your well-being and your, self-awareness and your personal growth and empowerment, you do have to unpack certain things and walk through it with professional help. I'm always going to
Mhm.
encourage with
No, no,
professional help.
yes. No, no.
Mhm.
And again, Miss Marlene, the reason why I'm at this age of mind, and it's been a while now that I've been able to, be more open about my feelings, my likes, dislikes, being more comfortable, putting someone, in their place if necessary, with, of course, with the utmost respect that I can master at that point. But the reason why I can do that is because of all the professional help that I got, right? And I don't think that I would be able to be as happy, as comfortable in my own skin, as easy to make friendships and and be who I am if it wasn't for professional help that I needed but didn't think I did.
Yeah. See, Miss Nexie, for me, I think I was in denial so long. When you're in trauma, when you grow up in trauma, negativity and things like that, it causes you become just like that, like unknowingly. Like I didn't. I wasn't like striving to say, I'm going to be angry. I'm going to be mean. I'm going to be like not trusting, but it happens based on your upbringing, and if you don't come to the space of admitting it and unlearning the toxic, and then learning, and there's a new way of dealing with things, there's a new way of communicating and dealing with the situation, and not just ignoring it. I didn't know that.
I just filled up my bingo card. I'm learning. Yay! Bingo. I just wanted to say that.
Oh my goodness.
Unlearning bad behaviors or unlearning what you have been doing your entire life. I think that, Miss Marlene, was one of the biggest challenges for me,
Hmm.
because I had to unlearn. Again, remember, I grew up in another country. Again, in the middle of a 12-year war, so it was chaotic, right? But I had to learn to enjoy the simple things of life. I had to learn to be not to be so frugal. I had to unlearn to not be like 4 steps ahead every day. I had to unlearn all of those things that I had to do for so long, right? I had to learn to trust again, to get attached, because I lost so many friends, by unalivings, by to this day missing without knowing where they're at. And so there was so much that I was carrying with me. I had to, again, unlearn all of that negativity and try to meet in the middle. I knew it was going to be challenging, and it was. It was very challenging to make friends and reassure myself that they were going to be there, right? That they were not going anywhere. I had to, stop planning 4 or 5 things in advance that may happen, may not happen, because I was in a place of peace now. So there was a lot of things that I had to unlearn, a lot of fears that I had to let go and unlearn to be. I had to unlearn to be in fear all the time and waiting for the shoe to drop every time and always thinking of the worst, scenario. I had to learn to trust again, to live happily, to believe that there will be another day, to believe that there was going to be food again, that I was going to be just able to go to the market the next day and buy them. That I learned that not every noise is a pew pew. That not every boom it can be fireworks. It doesn't necessarily mean, you know what I mean, like something bigger. And so a lot of things I had to unlearn. It took me years and a lot of therapy, Miss Marlene, to
A
get to
lot.
the place where I'm at today. A lot of money
A
went
lot of
into
money,
that.
a lot of tea, a lot of tears, a lot of frustration. Mm.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. But people, when people see you in your happy place, they don't know what you've had to go through to be where you are. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I say that all the time, like, because I'm nobody would ever believe the things that I have been through in my life, because I don't believe that my storm defined me, my storm empowered me. Like the wind, it get, going through a storm will either make you stronger or will keep you down.
Hmm.
Two choices. And I chose the latter. Yep.
It, yeah, it's, again, it's something that learning certain, you have certain habits, right, that you learn, that you do every day. You learn new things every day. You take new hobbies or whatever every day. But sometimes unlearning things that you have been so stressed out on and so scared around, unlearning trauma is, for me, was the hardest thing to do, because that's what it is. It's learned trauma, right? From having to be on guard every day for 12 years, having to be not safe every day for 12 years, day and night, not being able to live a normal life because, this day could be your last. So I had to unlearn to live with trauma, if that makes sense.
Yeah. See, my thing was I had to learn to shift my mindset. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I think learning that, like really absorbing it like a sponge and making it become a part of me, that I am in control of what I think about me. And I'm not my past, the way other people treated me, what other people think about me. I control that part. And when I gained that empowerment, it changed me. Like I'm not even the person that I used to be years ago.
Sometimes, Miss Marlene, um, I sometimes look at, I'm like, oh my God, I'm not even the person I used to be last month. Sometimes I find myself saying, oh my God, I've come this far in like 3 months. I have already accomplished this. I already changed, this certain thing that I wanted to change. I'm already doing better in this other area of, improving. Like, I don't know. You remember I was telling you about my sleeping patterns. It was so wacky, so crazy, so all over the place. And I'm improving, and then I have days that it's off, right? But there's more days that I actually sleep than the end of last year. And we're only in month 2. And I have improved so much from sleeping probably 3 hours in a day, like 20 days out of the month, 3 hours a day, and maybe, or 25, and then sleeping probably like 5 days, 6 7 hours. Now it's the opposite. Last month I slept 6 7 8 hours, like almost the entire month. I only had like 2 days, but I'm changing all of that, right? I'm working on, healing myself. I'm working on trying to build certain habits of going to bed at a certain time and turning all the lights off and trying to stay in bed even if I'm not falling asleep right away. But all that is bringing back that, hey, there is a schedule that you need to follow so that you can rest. And it's getting my body back to, we need to rest mode. And I'm sleeping better and I'm sleeping more. But there is days, like in this month, I've had, like 4 or 5 days already that I haven't really slept. Right. So it goes up and down, but I am not as I was last year.
Hmm. So Miss
Certain
Nexie,
things.
the question is, what has changed? What has changed? You don't have to share. I'm just saying it out loud. You have to
Um,
look at what has changed in order to make you be in a better space.
Well, as you remember, last year was my last year at work. I'm taking a year off, a sabbatical, as a lot of people call it, but a year off to work on a lot of projects I have to, in my house and other things that I have to do. But I'm not so consumed with work, even when I wasn't at work, because that's how it is, Miss Marlene, in the field that we're in. Yeah, we don't have to be at work, but they're calling us. They're Sometimes we have people that we leave, that depend on us, and they're calling us with updates and stuff like that. And sometimes you remember something in the middle of the night, so you wake up. And so I'm not in that stressful environment. And yeah, it's only been 2 months now, but that constant beeping, calling, and that thing in my mind that I had to keep myself kind of like in a twilight sleep, in that stressful environment, that I have to be up just in case something happens, even though I knew nothing was going to happen because it was my day off or 2 days off, whatever. that stress of keeping that, I'm working, I have to make sure I'm available. I don't have that anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, there's other stressors, right? Like I said, I told you last week, I was thinking about all the possibilities of things going the wrong way now that I'm not at work, that I'm not working. A flood, a tsunami. I don't even close to the ocean, but I'm thinking about that, and it's gonna flatten my house. And then I have to, where am I gonna get all the money? I'm not working, and no bank is gonna loan me. So you know what I mean? Like there's those other things that I'm thinking, but I stop myself from that, and I'm like, no, no, no. I need to let that go. We need to focus on here now, not what can or will probably never happen. So I'm working on that. I'm not having that stressor of having to be at work and having to be on a 24-hour shift and probably resting only like a few hours between the 2 days that I had off, and then going back and then raising my special needs son, and being a single parent, and head of household. So I don't have all of that anymore, the stressor of the job. Now I only have the stressor as being a single parent, head of household, raising a special needs child. It's just different.
Yeah, it's a different life, and I'm so proud of you. If I haven't said it on here, I'm so proud of you that you've given yourself the permission to say, "I deserve to get a break."
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, Miss Marlene. And that's something that I had to learn as well. I don't know if you, because when we come from big families, we're expected to be constantly cleaning, right? Cooking, taking care of our, siblings, our parents sometimes, but we're always go, 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 go. So having when we say I give myself the permission to relax, I give myself the permission to not be stressed out, that is non-existent in our world when
Mhm.
we're raised like that, right? So giving ourselves a permission to take a breather, a permission to take a year off, a permission to have, an empty house just for you, permission to enjoy the day with no noise. We had to learn to give ourselves that permission, Miss Marlene, because it wasn't taught to us growing up.
Yeah, to be honest with you, Miss Nexie, the first time that I went and I did something for myself, I was like, I wonder what this one is doing. I wonder what they're doing. I wonder if this one's how I know that I'm in a far different space in my life. I'll be gone like 5 hours and they'll be called. I was like, what do they want? I was like, "What were you doing from when I started?" It's like now I'm like, "Do I have to go home?" Like, would they report me missing? Like, how long can I get away with this before they report me missing?
Yeah, how long do I my sister lives right next door. How long will it take for her to report me or come and knock down the door of my house to make sure that I'm okay? How long? Probably a couple of hours.
But that's
Having older
so
sisters as we do.
yeah. But that's so good, Miss Nexus. That's so good for you, taking your sabbatical. It's so good for me that finally I've come to the space in my life where I know that I deserve to take my solo vacation. I don't mean adding in whoever and who wants to go. I mean by myself, for my mental health, for my peace, just me. Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm proud.
But again, when you talk about we can do this now, is not something that is developed overnight. Is
No.
years and years of unlearning, right? All those bad habits or all that trauma or all those other things that shaped us. we had to unlearn a lot to be in the place, the space, and the mental health that we have today. um
Mhm.
I had to let go a lot too of the mistakes that I made. I have a large family, my four kids. They're grown, they're good kids, responsible, hardworking. um but there were a lot of mistakes I made in the process of raising them because, again, I had not completely and totally unlearned, and I'm still in that process, Miss Marlene, of learning a lot of things that shaped who my childhood, right, and my early adulthood. But there were a lot of things that I had to, um, uh, ask my kids for forgiveness if I ever did something that will potentially put us in a bad kind of relationship. But there was a lot of things that I did with them growing up that now I look back and I'm like, oh my god, I did it because, first, why did I do it? And I go deep into thinking, and then I start seeing the pattern of if I go deep enough on, oh, this happened to me, so I wanted to make sure that didn't happen to my kids, right? So a lot of those fears that sometimes by mistake I will transfer on to my children because I love them so much. A lot of those things, I have had to let go, unlearn, and forgive myself for having done, you know, making certain mistakes, when they were growing up. And those things that I'm telling you, there were a lot in my mind. I always felt very guilty, especially as like I said, you get older, you get wiser, you get healthier in your mind and body and mind, and you start thinking about what you did or didn't do, right? So I'm there now working on that. Now that I have this time off, I've been reading a lot. I've been having therapy sessions just once a week, just to, hash out what I'm going through, and how to go by now that I'm not working, and how I can, not feel so anxious and things like that, and how to fix that area too. Because, I wasn't able to forgive myself. And I will always carry that I had to do all these other things to show them that I really care, because I will always feel that I neglected them growing up because I was working, going to school, doing all these things, right? So now I'm in that space where I can work on that. And I'm feeling that I have talked to, matter of fact, I was on the phone with my daughter about, I think, last week. We're on the phone like 4 hours talking about everything that we haven't talked about in the past, I don't know, year, I think. And we were going through that. And I was, asking her, to forgive me and certain things. And she's like, Mom, you were busy. You were super busy, but you always showed up. That's the one thing I always appreciated about you. She said that I knew you were working full time. I knew you were going to school, but in every game and in every practice I had and anything that I had, you were always there for me or my siblings. But I'm talking for me now, she says, we're talking about me. So you shouldn't feel like that. I know that you feel that you weren't there, but you were. Maybe not at the rate that you wanted it, at 100% as you wanted it, but you were there. You were even there more than dad was. And that made me
Mhm.
feel good, because I'm over here stressing out on all the things, on the reason why certain things are happening now with that relationship between my kids. And I'm thinking, I'm overthinking. So talking to her make me feel like I'm going the right way. I'm doing things the right way so that we can have a better relationship, and my granddaughters and my grandkids can have better grandparents and better parents and uncles and aunties, right? Because, clearing up the air, speaking with truth, and apologizing for things that are out of your control sometimes, and making sure that they understand that you don't do it because you hate them or you don't love them, but because you're human. So clearing things like that with the family, the entire family, brings a better, future for the little ones or future generations. So I was very happy that we were 4.5 hours on the phone with my child, who lives 20 minutes away from me. That can literally just come here and sit with me if that's what she wants. But we spend that much time on the phone talking
Oh, that's
about everything.
see, and that is something, Miss Nexie, that I want you to think about in your private time about how you have created generational healing.
It's something that I never thought about until we started this, by the way. You
Mhm.
said that, and I was like, oh my God, that is true. In the beginning of when we're talking about healing and this and that, and it didn't click in my head that that is exactly what, we are trying to do, right? Generational healing.
Yeah. I'm going to read this comment by Sirius. Sirius says, when you internalize the fear of being scared of the unknown is when you will spiral out of control. You have to know how to introspectively avoid the possibility of being frightened, you know?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, First Lady. That is exactly what I had to do. Because when you live in fear of the unknown, or you live like futuristically, because that's what I was doing. I was preparing for, weeks, days, months, like at a time. When you live like that, you're not really living, and you're not even in the moment, because you're freaking 1,000 steps ahead of everybody else. So you cannot enjoy. And if you don't control that, it's chaos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's true. And that's true.
Wonderful
Troy,
comment.
Troy
Wonderful
says
comment.
comfort leads to growth. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It does.
Yes, it
It does.
does.
What do they don't call it growing pains for nothing.
Have we had growing pains?
Mhm.
I,
Yeah.
Miss Marlene. Yeah, we've had growing pains, but I look at my therapist and I'm like, man, I'm sorry for you that you have to deal with me. That you were the lucky one that got me.
Oh, Miss Nexie, my therapist has a chapter of a book, but I'm not going to tell you what my therapist's name is because it's all about me. He told me,
No, I'm seriously,
yeah,
seriously, Miss
he
Marlene, I do
dedicated.
do that. And I told him, I said, man, how lucky are you? I mean, you ended up with me. I am so sorry. He says, yeah, you should feel sorry.
I told my therapist, I said, I said, you need a therapist. Therapy.
No, no, no. Mine says that, he checked himself in after he was done with my first real therapist. He's like, I had to check myself in. I'm like, you're kidding. He goes, no, I'm not. I really I said, check in where? To the Holiday Inn or something? Did you go? He's like, no, to the loony bin. You were driving me crazy. You drove me crazy.
Oh yeah,
I-
Miss Nexie, I am one of those just like you that I question everything. I just accepted it. Acceptance. I was like, and then I was like, no.
So go back again. How did you come to that understanding that I was that person? How did you do that? Yeah, no, I just told him he was so lucky. He's like, lucky? That's not what I thought when you first came here. I
Yeah.
went home and asked, what have I done to you, Lord? Why do I get punished with her? And he starts laughing.
Yeah. What you call it? My therapist says, "Why is this my ministry? I don't want it. Return to sender."
Man. That's what my siblings used to tell me when I used to drive him crazy. Oh my God, Dad, I told you not to pick her up from that trash can. Should have just left her there. I would start crying, and my dad would be like, "Stop saying that." Because at one point, I was like putting, like, you know how you have baby pictures? Like, I had this little baby picture, and I'll put them right next to my dad to make sure. I was like, "I don't look like you. So, are you sure you didn't find me in
Oh
a trash
no.
can?" I was not adopted because my siblings, and I look just like my older sister. So my dad is like, unless her father is your father, then no, you're not adopted.
Oh wow. Well, I always said that I was what you call it? What is it called? What do they call them now? I was a surrogate. I was a surrogate. Mhm. Mhm.
And who's your surrogate? Who had you?
I don't know. I was like somebody. I was like not you. I was like not you people because I love to talk. I like hugs. I was like, and none of you people like it. And they were like, you people.
my dad, my dad, Miss Marlene, because I will question every single thing when he was working. What is that for? And what are you doing now? How is that going to get to that point? Like, why did you touch that? Because he was an electrician. Like, why did you
Mm,
put that cable together? And why do you turn that? And so my dad will get so crazy that at one point he wouldn't do any work during the day. He waited until I went to bed
yeah, he's like,
because
oh, finally, now I can handle doing
no, he
something.
was like, I make so many mistakes when she's awake. I just wait until she's asleep. She
Oh
drives
my
me
god.
crazy. And but he would never say stop or what do you want? Like stop questioning, go away. He will never say that. He will continue
Oh,
answering
boy.
my
I didn't-
questions, but
My
I
my
think he needed
I'm not
therapy
gonna
too.
tell you what my dad said to me. Go play in traffic.
My siblings probably wish that for me. No, but the thing is, my dad will say, "Oh, honey, I think your sister's calling you." Right? I was like, I didn't hear. No, I think I did. And my sister eventually caught on with my dad, and she'll be like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I wanted you to help me with this or do this or blah blah blah," because my dad will be like pulling his hair out, like, "Oh my." And I wanted
Wow.
to help on everything, even though I didn't have either the height or the weight or the strength to help, but I wanted to. So my dad had to find ways to get rid of me without hurting my feelings. But at points, he would lose it and say, "Oh my God, woman, I'll do this
Yeah.
later. I don't need to do it now." "Oh, you sure? Because I can help you." "No, no, 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 no. I'll do it some other time. You go away."
Yeah. Okay, Miss Nexie. There's three questions that I
Uh
think
oh.
will probably apply to you on this ACEs test, but
Uh
I
oh.
may be wrong. Okay. Did your parents in your home ever hit, punch, beat, or threaten to harm you? And I was like, isn't every child hit, beat, threat?
I think in their mind and in their heart they did. But you see, I don't know if that will apply to me because I didn't have a mom, and my dad. I think their marriage was chaotic. So by the time I was growing up, that part of equation was removed. So my dad was more chill, more patient, more like less stress. So no, they didn't beat me or anything like that. If anything, I think they overindulged me. They spoiled me too much.
Mm.
But yeah, no, they didn't. Yeah, I will get that. My sister
You were the
sometimes
good
will hit me
you
in
were the
the
good
in
kid.
the rear end.
You were the good kid, Miss Nexie, not me. I already know I was bad. I know I was a piece of work. So I was like, I could never if I ever said that I never got beat, I mean lightning would come right down. Like, what?
No, the only beating, I think I've said it here before, Miss Marlene, was when I first came here. The first beating in my entire life was given to me by my mother. that I had been estranged from for many years. And I was a child, a twin. I wasn't a teen yet, I wasn't a teenager. I was in between that. And I don't even remember what I did, Miss Marlene, but I got a beating, a severe beating. And I knew nothing about what that meant. But when they were together, I didn't. So, yeah, I learned that one time because of that beating, what it felt like and what it was. But and it traumatized me. I still remember every, like, the pain. I still remember every word she said to me, and it's been years. But it was the first, the one and only that that I got from her. And I don't
Mm,
even know why. Like, there was no explanation on the reason why she was so enraged. And not knowing her and getting that and seeing that side of her freaked the living out of me. And I
mm,
wanted to run to my dad, but he was, in another country, so I had nowhere to go. And the only thing I could find was to try to hide myself, jumping in, like, in a closet, and the bells were still going. So, that's the only thing, that the only time, because my dad and my sister will give me like little pats in the back when I will misbehave a little, but it wasn't, I didn't even feel it. I think she probably hurt more than I did. But the one I got from her, yeah, that was the one and only. So it wasn't all the time, it was just that time, but it was severe and it was weird and it was traumatic.
mm. It doesn't have to have multiple times. One time something traumatic happens to you, can be too much. One time is too much.
Yeah, it made me think of when I had my children when they were growing up. It made me more patient and never ever escalate anything to that point. And it made me want to talk to them more, like the way my dad used to do with us, talk to them more than yell or disrespect. Because I have never been that parent to say, oh, you stupid, blah 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 blah, you f and this, you f and that. Like, I'm not saying everybody does that, but a lot of parents sometimes lose their cool and they call kids some names, or you know what I mean, or use words that are not supposed to be used for
Mhm.
children. But I always stopped myself before I got to that point of no return, because I remember how that traumatized me, and I didn't want my kids to go through that. But that was, again, it was it was just the first and only time that that happened to me. It was scary,
Wow,
very scary.
Nexie. I can't imagine. Because Miss Nexie, when I tell you, because there were so many of us, Miss Nexie,
Hmm.
we did so much stuff, and I think me and my siblings used to terrorize my mother.
Your
Now
poor
being
mother.
adults, we called it the reign of terror, okay? We would get together and we're like, "We're gonna get mom back because of what she did to you," and we would, like, write it on a paper, "We're gonna get mom back for what she did to us 7 months ago." And we would do, like, one per and you know how much kids there was. I'm the last of 10, for those of you who
Oh,
don't know.
poor mom.
Yeah, so it was like, you do this, and then you do that, and then you do, and you do, and you do, and then I'll do, and then the me being the youngest, number 10, the final blow.
Poor mom, she probably needed therapy too.
So, I'm not justifying, physically, putting your hands on somebody, but I think my mother was just too overwhelmed,
Yeah, 10
you know?
kids is a lot. 10 kids is a lot of kids. It was six of us with my dad. And, you know, of the six kids, my second brother, he was wild. Like, he will, oh my God, my poor dad. But of the girls, the last one, me, I was, oh my God, all over the place. Like I will climb trees. I will go on top of the house and the roof. I will be running from roof to roof to roof. And they were so, my poor dad by himself, like putting up with all of us. But my father never hit us girls. He never did that ever, laid a hand on us. He didn't want us to get used to being handled like that by a man, because he didn't want for us to be okay with a husband, our boyfriend, or whatever, putting their hands on us. He always thought that if he did that, we were going to be okay with some other man abusing us. So he always said that to us and to my brothers, because they will say, look, why don't you hit them? Look at her. Yeah, she's a girl. I'm never going to do that to her. But my dad had a way of talking that sometimes will put the fear of God in you, because you were like, oh my God, he's mad now. You
Wow.
will stop doing whatever. He wasn't yelling or, the top of his lungs or using derogatory words, nothing like that. It was just the tone. And that when you knew, like, oh my God, I'm in trouble. And you will have even more respect for him. Of course, you didn't know that because you were so young, right? But now that I'm older, I'm like, yeah, it was more of a respect of, hey, I'm pushing the boundaries too much here. I'm not, doing what I'm supposed to be doing, or I'm misbehaving too much. And now I understand all of that. When you're little, you don't. You put yourself in harm's way, I don't know, 99% of the day.
Yeah. Miss Nexie, that's all I did from the time I woke up till I went to bed.
My dad gave up on me. Like he will say, if you're not here by 6 o'clock, you're not having dinner. I was never there by 6, Miss Marlene, because that's when we were actually playing the best games outside. So I will always be home like around 6:45, 7, but after 6. And the first few days, yeah, he will, don't give her any food. She wasn't here, blah, blah, blah. But then my sister was like, Dad, she's too young. She's not gonna get it. And it's sad that she goes to bed without food. Yeah, my dad gave that up. So there was always a plate, even though it was cold and there were no microwaves back then, right? But there was always something on the table for me.
Boy, that's
Yeah, I made him give it up because I
wow.
wasn't listening.
Okay. Here's another question from this ACE test. Okay. Let's see. Um, oh, I think I already know the answer to this, but question number 6 is, did you live with anyone who went to jail or prison?
No,
Yeah. I,
no.
I
I
see
think
to that.
they thought that they were living with someone, which is me, that was going to go to jail or prison one day. But I never lived with anyone like that.
Yes. I agree with that. They thought the same thing about me. My dad used to cry all the time, and he was like, "I'm gonna lose my child to the system. I'm gonna lose." And I know I was so bad because even till today, I laugh still. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Poor dad. No, I didn't. And again, it was I I know that, people, especially by the time when I was growing up, a lot of um in the 70s, at that point, teenagers, like, I was at that point, a lot of them were doing really weird things, right? They were going with friends the wrong way,
Mhm.
illicit drugs and, partying, drinking, doing all those kind of things. And I always, and now in my as I was growing up, I couldn't see it, but as I started getting older, having my kids and everything, I always said, things happen for a reason, Miss Marlene. And I'm about to say something that is probably not going to sound the right way, right? Because of what I'm about to say, but I apologize. This again is my thinking, my opinion, not Miss Marlene's, nobody else's. But I think that by my mother leaving us, it shield us from becoming like that, looking for drugs or drinking or being out on the streets or having multiple, I don't know, partners or partying, stuff like that, because the house wasn't chaotic anymore. The house was chill. And now that she had left, there was that pain, right? That emptiness, she left and whatever. But my dad was able to embrace us and give us a family that we were happy to be at home with. When they were together, my siblings remember that more than I do, which is why I'm saying this, that we didn't go that way because we lived a very peaceful life with my dad. But my older siblings remember that they were always fighting. My mom was always fighting with my dad. My dad will retaliate against my mom, fighting, screaming, calling each other names, and it was very chaotic and frustrating. And my older sister got married just to get out of the house. She got married very young. She was only 17 because
Mm.
it was so much, it was so much chaos, and they were bickering every day. Like there was no peace at home. So by her leaving, you know, in the 70s and allowing me to be like kind of like a normal teenager, like she left actually early 70s, and I was a normal teenager. I didn't have all that chaos in my head, in my heart, in my mind. So I was okay by being at home. We weren't out there. My father was very law abiding citizen. He's always by the law. He didn't like breaking it. He didn't like doing anything outside of that. So we had, even though we were really poor, we had a stable, loving, kind of cool, chill, kind of home. And I think that's what, protected us from ending up in jail or, using drugs and being drunk or whatever. I think that's why I didn't grow up. But I think if my mom would have stayed and the marriage would have continued that way, I think I would have been the one in jail. And my family would have had to come visit me there because I was out of control.
Yeah. Miss Becky, I have to say that, for all of the things that not just yourself, myself, any of the loved ones, anybody listening on the replay, for everything that you go through in your life, it's amazing what your mind and your heart can handle. You know, that like after a while, like I know a lot of things happened to me, but when you just push that to the back of your mind, because if you keep thinking about it, it will literally drive you crazy. So
Mm.
I literally just got used to being like in the bubble of my loneliness. And something that people just don't understand is that you can have a huge family and be lonely.
I was about to say that. You coming from a big family, me coming from sometimes, actually, you are even more lonely if you only had one other sibling, or you know what I mean, like it, because there's so many people, so many others that need and probably uh, ask for that attention more than you do. That you're literally left to your own vices, like you're, because you don't ask, you don't question, you don't, I was the type of kid that I could go out in the morning, no school day, and be out in the field all day. We will eat fruits from trees that we will find on our way to the beach, and we'll be out all day, and the only thing I had to do is be back before dark. And my sisters were more like in home and in communication with dad and everything, and always like seeking that attention. I was the one that, oh shoot, it's 7, where's Nexie at? Because I wasn't asking. So you grow up, even though you have a huge family, you grow up alone and lonely sometimes.
Yeah, and
You
and
get forgotten.
Yeah, what used to, and that I think that's what disturbed me for many years is having so many people and feeling like not one person chose me.
And
Yeah.
also, Miss Marlene, don't forget that also having so many people around, you're like, they're already overwhelmed. Why am I going to bother them? Right? They're already dealing with this and that and that. And I'm just going to, whatever. I'm not going to ask for help, or I'm not going to, seek for them on anything because they're already overwhelmed with my other siblings.
Mhm. And trust me, there was always something going on with somebody. Uh,
Yes.
they should just be like, I was like, whatever. I said, I'll work it out on my own.
Yeah, I was a very independent child too, but only because I'm a perfectionist. So I always knew that if I asked for help, it was not going to be the way I wanted it. So yeah, I will handle it on my own until I couldn't handle it on my own anymore. And then
Wow.
I'll be very unhappy because they didn't do it the way that I asked them to do. So yeah,
Hmm.
I was complicated, Miss Marlene. Very complicated person.
Yep. Same over here. Same, same. Um, so I'm gonna put the link to the ACE test in the description box for anybody who is interested in it. Yeah, you're right, James. You
Ooh.
were feeling left out. I was. I know for sure I was feeling left out. And I feel like that's the reason why now, at my age, why I am such a free spirit now, because I spent so many years, like the spring, that once you release it, it just all over the place.
Yeah,
I
it
feel
keeps on
like
going.
I'm finding the recoil, right?
It just keeps on going. Like you don't stop that spring. And yeah, I think that's why we're so independent too, Miss Marlene. When you come from a big family, I think you learn to be very, very independent at a very young age
Yeah.
because you don't get catered to the way that, other people do. Oh, I want
Yeah.
to say hi to James, Nate, First Lady, Realist, and everybody else that I haven't seen there because I could only see a little bit of the chat. Hi, everyone. Glad you guys are here today.
Oh, so nice, Miss Maxie.
I know I'm very nice.
You're showing love to everybody. It's so nice. Thank you, Miss Maxie. You're a good co-host because I don't remember to even be checking my chat. So I promise
I
I'll
only
do
get
that.
like a small, like it goes fast. So I just read, read, read. I'm like, okay, I got to say hi to this. I haven't seen James in a bit. I haven't seen Nate. And so I wanted to say hi to all of them first. But I got talking and I forgot.
That's okay. You're allowed to. What I wanted to say, oh, real says you got to be a free spirit, and the thing about that is when you have a traumatic upbringing, I feel that my spirit on purpose was crushed or beat out of me. So I feel like I was a bird with my wings clipped. And I think it wasn't until I finally got to a space of healing to where now I'm free. So I think it comes in time.
Yeah, it makes you, I see my kiddos and I was, I came from another country. I immigrated here. When I started having my kids, since it was just me, my sisters were back home. I raised my kids right on my own without any help or any support. My mom, it's not that type of person that, will lend a hand. So I did it all on my own. I had my mother in law, who was an amazing woman, but I didn't have any of my family. So I see my kids now and how they can count on me for whatever they need. If my daughter has a question, she'll call me about the baby. If they have any problem, they come to me, and I'm the first person they come to before they go to their dad. And sometimes they even come to me just to ask me, if do you think it's okay if I go to dad for this? And you know what I mean? Like, I'm the first person they come to, and I love the fact that I'm that to them. And at the same time, it saddens me because I grew up in a time and in a place where you did everything on your own, right? Because everybody was, again, busy, and everybody was trying just to survive. So you have to be self-sufficient at a very young age. And so I didn't have anyone, even though I had my mom here and a couple of my brothers, but they lived far away. And again, my mom were not that close. So I didn't have, and I love the fact that I can be that to my kids, because I wished I would have had my sisters here with me. It would have been different raising my kids, right? But I know that my kids have me. And I love that I can be that for them, something that I didn't have for me when they were growing up. And I'm
Yep.
glad that they
Yep.
don't have to do everything on their own, and they don't have to feel lonely, or they don't have to feel alone, or they don't have to be overwhelmed, because they can always come to me, which is something that you and I and a lot of our chatters didn't grow up with, and probably had to do everything on their own.
hmm Like, I think that a very important conversation I was talking to, like, with my support group, like I tell you guys this all the time. I go to a support group every week online, and we were talking about how good, like, if you have kids, or if you don't have kids, like maybe your cousins and other extended family, like how good kids in this generation now have it. Like, they have it so good. It was like we got like whipped, we got like neglected, like no food. Like now there's like rights, like like we have you have it so good. And I was like, what are they complaining about now? You have nothing to complain about. I was like, well, you mad because you don't get your iPad? Give me a break.
No, no, my kids, mom, don't forget, like on the weekends, because what I used to do, I used to go to school and work, Monday through Friday. And on the weekends, I will go to the library and study. I had a study group there, and we will be having all weekend long, right? But my kids will say, Mom, on Sunday, don't forget, you have to pack all of our snacks. And don't forget, we told you this time we want this and this and that, okay, for the snack. Oh, yeah. And don't forget that I want peanut butter and jelly for Wednesday, but I don't want it for Friday because we're going to get pizza. Oh, and I'm like, when did I
What
do that?
is
Oh,
this?
and don't forget, we don't want the grape juice this time. We want the apple one, right? We all want that. Yeah, we all want that. And I'm over here taking orders, Miss Marlene, and preparing everything for the week because I didn't have time throughout the week. So I will prepare everything on Sunday, and or I will leave little notes. Oh, don't forget this, do that, whatever. And they will tell me like, don't forget this. And I'm like, when did I? Who did I ask? Don't forget about this for me, okay? Oh, we're gonna have eggs again
Yeah,
or
that's
beans again? Like seriously, you couldn't cook anything else? Like who did I ever say that to? Like nobody.
like, Miss Nexie, honestly, I grew up in the "you better clean your plate" generation. Um,
Don't remind me of that. I'm
yeah,
girl.
I hated that. Like, what if you don't like that? And I grew up in the generation like, of your opinion is irrelevant.
Yeah, I don't like this, I've said this to you before. I don't like the yolk of the egg, especially if it's scrambled. Then I don't have a problem with, because it's already mixed in there, and I put a lot of other things so that I don't taste it. But when it's sunny side up or whatever, I don't like eating it. So I will eat the white part of it. And even to this day, Miss Marlene, when I see somebody partying and I see that thing just pour out, oh my God, it makes me it gets me. Ah, I gag because I don't like it. Well, my sister was in a mission to make me eat that because she couldn't be making those eggs all the time. You're going to get tired of scrambled eggs, and you have to start learning to eat everything and anything because you're not special. She makes me sunny side up eggs. She makes that for everybody on a weekend, one weekend, and she puts it there. And I ate the white part of it. And she's like, "You're not gonna get out of this table until you finish that. You're gonna have to eat that." Miss Marlene, lunch came. I was still sitting there looking at the little yolk.
Mhm.
Snack came like around 3. I was still sitting on that table. I had not touched that. Dinner came. Everybody ate. I was still sitting with that plate. And my sister is looking at me like, "Are you serious?" And I was like, "I cannot eat it. I can't." I even fell asleep, I think, for a couple of hours next to my plate. I
Next.
must have been like around 5 years old, Miss Marlene. 5 or 6.
Mm.
No, I was like 6 years old, I think. I was like 6 years old. And I remember sitting there with that plate, but I couldn't eat it. I just couldn't. My sister, like around 7 or 8 at night, she's like, "I give up. She's not going to eat it." Right. So she's like, "You know what? That's fine. Go to bed. I'm not going to give you any dinner. You're not going to eat anything else because you were a brat. You didn't want to eat this. So go to bed and no food until tomorrow." I looked at her and I said, "Yeah, but I didn't eat it." And I went to bed.
Mhm.
I don't know why that thing, it was so traumatic for me to sit there. And she asks me for forgiveness many a time. She has said that, "I'm so sorry. I just was so worried that you weren't eating anything, that you were so skinny, and I was so worried, and I did that to you, and I made you stay." And she's like, "I feel so guilty. I feel like I failed you as a sister mom, right?" And I'm like, "No, don't worry about it. It's okay." But to this day, that image of me sitting there looking at that yolk in the plate, just thinking about that every time I see it, I go back to that image. But I
Yep.
couldn't. I couldn't eat it. And so, in a way, again, it made me kind of more aim towards, I'm not going to do that to my kids, right? Because if you don't like something, you don't like it. You cannot force someone to eat something they don't like, because it's like putting on shoes that are 2 sizes, smaller than your feet or bigger than yours. It's uncomfortable. You cannot
Mhm.
make people like that because it's traumatizing. Then they're gonna start probably having problems with food. You don't know. A food disorder, I don't know. But I still remember that day. And that's many, well, I'm only 30, but that's many years ago. Oh yeah, I'm turning
Yeah.
30 again this year.
Yeah. Miss Nexie, I already told you it's just easier to just say that's your age. It's never going up. I
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I claim that too. I claim 30
yeah.
forever.
I've been 30 for, like, I'm not gonna say it because then they will know, but I've been 30 for a long time. My kids just bring me a cake and it has a number 30 on it. I was 25 for a very long time until my kids started going to school. They're like, "Mom, if you're 25 and I'm 13, that doesn't make sense. Or if I'm 15 and you're 25, that means you had me at 10." So
Exactly.
I changed my age. Now I don't. I'm just 30, and it's been like that for a very long time. But I still remember that, I don't remember exactly how the house looked, but I remember the seat, me sitting there looking at that plate. And that could have gone in different ways, because I know that our childhood shaped us and gave us more backbone, right? Compared to kids nowadays, and my children included. It gave us more, like, I'm not gonna eat. I didn't eat it, and I won, right? She didn't win. That was my whole point. I didn't eat it. That means I won. It gave us a backbone that kids nowadays, don't have. But it could have gone the other way, where I could have become anorexic or bulimic or whatever because of that experience. So
Well,
it made me think about my kids more on how I approached certain things that they didn't like, how I found ways to kind of like, I'm not telling you everything was perfect because there were times I would lose my cool, like, oh my God, seriously, you're not going to eat it again? But I will try to mix it with other things or not give them that, not do it on purpose so that I could traumatize them.
yeah, Miss Nexie, I is some comments in the comment section of a lot that agree with this. You know, James, I think, Troy and Eric, who just like me,
Oh,
we were
hi,
in
Troy and Eric.
we were a part of the Clean Your Plate Club. So yeah,
Miss Marlene.
Miss Nexie, I still till this day remember that plate. My mom had these white dishes, and it used to have a little rosebud in the middle
Oh,
on the
those. Oh,
roundy. And I remember looking at those rosebuds for literally hours.
yeah.
And you know what it was that my mom was trying to get me to eat?
What was it?
Bro- broccoli.
What? Broccoli and
Yeah,
you were dying for that? You crazy woman.
yeah. And you know what I thought, Miss Nexie? I thought those were tree trunks.
Ah,
Now you can laugh because it was like I was a silly 7-year old, but I was not going to eat it because I was like, I felt bad for my parents. I was like, what is happening? Why are my parents giving me? And when I saw like my mom made like put like spinach into anything, I was like, oh my God, my poor parents. They have to go outside and pick leaves to give us to eat. I really felt sorry for them. I was like, but I said, I'm sorry for them, but I'm not eating leaves and I'm not eating tree trunks.
Miss
So
Marlene,
forget it.
our siblings sometimes are very cruel, right? So there was a summer, I think I was also very young, like probably 7, 8. And we were eating watermelons and I swallowed one of the seeds. And my brother goes, "You swallowed it?" And I say, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh my God. Oh my God. Watermelons are gonna start growing all over inside of you, and you're gonna start getting all these leaves. They're gonna start protruding out of your body." Miss Marlene, I was freaking out. I started crying. My sister's like, "What's going on?" And then the next day, my sister gives us another piece of watermelon. I said, "No, I don't want any." And then my sister's like, okay. Then the following like weekend, whatever, and I'm still waiting for all these watermelons to grow, but nothing. And my brothers, because I asked them, they're not growing. You're a liar. He's like, oh no, it takes a while, but you're gonna start growing them. So my sister, like the following weekend, says, you want watermelon? I said, no, I'm okay because I'm gonna start growing my
Because you're growing your
yeah, I was gonna start growing my own. And my sister looked at me and she's like, "What?" And then my brother started laughing. He's like, "Armando," because that's my brother's name. What did you say to her? What do you mean you're gonna start growing your own? And then my I told her that I had swallowed one of the seeds, so I didn't want to eat any more watermelon because there was gonna be too many inside of me if I continue to eat the ones that she was giving me. And my sister starts chasing my brother with the sandal. I'm gonna kick your butt.
oh
Because
yes,
I swear I was gonna grow
next
my own watermelons.
next we also grew up in the you were gonna get beat with whatever shoe was around. Yep.
Oh
It was a
yeah.
sandal. It was the what do you call it? Oh, those little thin beach flip flops.
Oh
They stick.
yeah. My
Oh
sister
man,
would throw them at me like, oh, and I would like duck or I would like move away and I would run away.
hated those.
Or
And you know, I was in Florida, so there was always flip flops in the house. I hated. I did. I think that's why I had like a triggered memory from my childhood. Like I don't like flip flops. Like till this day, I was- I don't like that. I was like too many whippings with flip flops.
You know what? I didn't get them, but my sister sometimes when I would like not do something or I would answer back in a mean way or whatever, she will throw her little flip flop because we also, I come from where I live, where I grew up. It's a protocol, so we're surrounded right by the ocean. It's super hot, so we're always wearing flip flops. And my sister would throw them, and I would laugh because she never threw them at me to hit me. She was just doing it to shut me up or scare me, whatever. But it didn't work on me. And but I had friends who sometimes like we'll play in the morning and then go to eat. And then when they will come out in the afternoon to eat, I will see the marks of the flip flops on their arms, on their legs, whatever. And I was like, oh shoot, they got beat up. Because we grew up in that era, right? When parents will grab whatever. I think we still do. We grab
That's
whatever and
right.
just throw it at our kids because we're so frustrated by.
Yep. I was like, for so many years, I was traumatized by the Betty Crocker, the spatula, the little spoon that you stir cake batter with. Like till this day, when I see that, like I still like I'll break out in a sweat. Like
Marlene, what happened to you, Miss Marlene? What did you do to earn that?
I was bad, but I still had trauma.
The only thing I remember, like when I got my angel wings when I was young,
Oh boy, here we go.
I was such an angel. My sister
Mhm.
rolls her eyes every time I say that. She's like, "Did you did you live with another family that I have no idea of? You were a
Let me
little devil."
get out of the way because if lightning is going to strike, I'm going to make sure it's on your
I,
end.
I was like, when we were talking, they're like, "Oh my god, of everybody, this kid was the worst." They always say that about me. Because again, I was always inventing something, exploring something, climbing a tree, running everywhere. I never walked, right? So all my knees were always scraped, my elbows, I always had something going on. And when I tell them like, what do you mean? I go, the only reason why you guys couldn't see my wings is because they were like clear as the
I'm so
it's
done.
a nice sculpture. So only God and me could see my wings, and my sister rolls her eyes. Oh my God, here we go again. I go, besides, I was a delight
Yeah.
to have as a younger sibling. She goes, you almost make me not want to have kids. That's all I have to tell you.
My mom said because I was so bad being the 10th child, she was like, God delivered me and cut me off and said no more after her.
Miss Marlene, I will bring all kinds of animals to the house. I'm telling you, I will rescue everything. I had a goat inside that was lost. I knew where it belonged to, but I didn't want to leave him outside at night, and he ate a lot of stuff in the house. My dad's shirts, his pants, even his mattress. Cats, dogs, ducks, chickens, everything. And if I saw, I had a friend who was really his father had been unalived in the war. Because again we were in the middle of, and the mom was a single mom of 7 children, right? And everything was scarce. So if I will find like a pound of beans or rice or bread or whatever, I will put it in a bag and take it to my friend. And then my sister will be like, I know I bought rice. Like I was gonna make beans. Or oh my God, I know I left some eggs here. And so my sister started hiding it because I will just take to help because I always like to help people. And my sister will explain to me that this is not the time to be helping others, honey, because this is our food. It's already very limited. And if you give it away, but it didn't register, it didn't click on me that wasn't, that I should have not or shouldn't be helping people. I will always argue with her. This is the time when we're supposed to be helping others. She will be like, "Oh my God, I'm never gonna get through to her." So she started like hiding everything and um telling my dad, do not leave anything. And then my dad said, one more animal you bring in here, we're gonna eat it. Because there's no
Oh,
meat out there. So we're gonna so I stopped bringing animals around because he was gonna eat them. Even though I know he wasn't, but in my head I thought he was. So I stopped bringing rescues. But yes, that was me, Miss Marlene. I gave my dad said that if I would have been the first child, they only would have had one.
yeah. My mom said the same thing, but I don't. But because I always said, they say the best for last. I'm the grand finale.
Exactly, which is why me and my wings will come to see you in Florida because we are the best of the best. I don't have a halo, Miss Marlene, because I only got my wings, but yeah, we can share them. The angels of the family.
But but for some reason, I feel like our family would not agree with that. But
You
they're
know,
the
Miss Marlene, I
no.
don't know if you come from the generation. I think you do. I don't know if because you're so much younger than I am. But I don't know if your family too, if there was an adult conversation, no matter what you had to say, even if it was an emergency, you could not interrupt because if you did, oh my God, did you get it? So you couldn't
Mhm.
interrupt. You couldn't be eavesdropping either. You had to leave. And no matter, again, even if it was an emergency, you had to wait until that conversation was over so that you can tell that person, your whoever you wanted to talk to what was happening. I don't know if you come from that generation that you couldn't interrupt.
There was no waiting because I grew up with my parents. They didn't care what we had to say. Period. So there wasn't a lot of. Yeah,
No,
I
I
always
had to wait.
say things to my siblings or to my friends, but I don't ever remember having like those conversations with my dad, like about my opinions about whatever. We just knew that you just didn't do that.
Yeah, no, for
Just
me, if my sister had someone that was visiting and they were having a conversation on the table, even if there was something that needed to be addressed at that moment, like so and so fell, or I had to wait until they were done because if I interrupted, I will get, time out, taking something away or punished in any other way, not by beatings, right? But by taking away my freedom, which it was worse than a beating. And so I had to wait until they were done, and you couldn't butt into their conversation. Oh, that was a no no.
mhm. That was just
Now,
something you just
kids
didn't
do
do.
it all the time.
Oh, and what gets me now, Miss Nexie, about showing how generations, how things change. Like now, kids are like calling adults by their first name
Oh,
and making demands and telling you how to dress and the food they don't like and what they want. And I'm just looking at these kids like completely baffled. Like, you got to be kidding me. Yeah.
yeah. I went to a friend's house. Not a friend. Well, yeah, I can consider her a friend, I guess. But we're coworkers. We have some sort of friendship, I guess. So I went to her house, and her grandchild is sitting on the living room with a tablet. And so I come there and, I said hi to everybody and I said, hey, so and so. And he looked at me and he's like, don't you see I'm in the tablet? Like, don't interrupt
What?
me. Yeah. And I looked at the grandmother. She said nothing. She just kind of felt embarrassed. And the mom is like, oh, yeah, I'm sorry. He doesn't like to be interrupted when he's in his tablet. She didn't say anything to the child. She explained to me the mistake I made by interrupting him. And he's about 8 or 9 years old,
Mm.
but I made that mistake. So the correction wasn't for him, it was for me. And I looked at my friend and I looked at the kid and I'm like, you're so lucky you're not my grandchild. And I walked away.
Yeah, I see
But
a lot.
that's what they did. The mom explained to me that I shouldn't interrupt them. Like that's why he said that, because I interrupted him and he doesn't like to be interrupted with his tablet. 8. Imagine when he's 18.
Oh, Miss Nexie, we don't even have to wait until 18, in my opinion. That it's gonna really be about maybe about 11 or 12 when he's like ruling the house and telling everybody what to do and causing chaos.
My
Yeah.
my daughter, my granddaughter was, she was screaming about something, and and I walked in, and my daughter's like, "Hey mom, whatever." And she's screaming, and I looked at her, I said, "What's wrong with you?" And she looked at me, and she's about to start, and she goes, don't. Grandma don't play that. And I'm afraid of that woman, so I'm not gonna be able to defend you.
Yeah.
And
Because
I
I
was
have a
like, yes, yes.
next to you know that I got a little munchkin um about the same age of your
Mine is
granddaughter, right?
cuter. Mine is cuter. Mine is cuter. But go on,
Okay,
go on.
you're gonna disagree, but whatever. Um, and he just he's you know how they are, and they're doing all this kind of stuff and carrying on and having a fit. And when I came in, and I just snapped my fingers, and he looked up and saw me and stopped right away.
Yeah,
My-
that's how my granddaughter is.
Yeah, and my nephew was like, "What in the world?"
See,
Here I am.
that's how you do it. That's how you do it. See that? See that?
I was
That's
like,
how it's
"Uh-uh."
done.
Just snapped my fingers. And like he was terrified. My nephew's like, what do you do to him?
I don't know. It's called discipline
I
and
said,
good
it's called
upbringing
rules, boundaries.
and
No,
regulations.
yeah. It's like
Yeah,
the
no,
thing about it is, I feel Miss Nexie that this generation feels, and they have the term now called gentle parenting. Okay,
yeah, no,
yeah,
nope.
Miss Nixon, there's certain things that I agree with, and there's certain things that I don't. Especially based on my childhood, I do believe in if you have a question, you ask questions, but
Mm-hmm.
everything that you do it with respect. But it's the ones like, oh no, you're dumb or you're stupid, like, and like you see all of these shorts and things on social media where kids are like, "Oh, you're ugly," like saying that to their mom. "Oh, it's because you're fat," and things like that. It's certain things that you're raising your kids to be disrespectful, and that's
Yeah,
never
and
fun. I don't care
you
how old a kid is. No, you're not
you
gonna
see what
be.
and again, Miss Marlene, we're not saying our childhood was perfect. It was chaotic, it was weird, but it made us who we are today, right? And I'm not saying that you're to do the same way to your kids, the same way that it was done to us or whatever, but there is a limit on everything. And if you don't, everything, I remember my father used to say that education and a good upbringing starts at home, not at the school level. Starts at
Mhm,
home. So if you allow your children to disrespect you or talk to you like you are their equal, their friend, they disrespect you with, the way they treat you, or with, not listening, not following your rules, and everything that you tell them, what you're setting them up for is that when they get older, the world is gonna be very, very rough for them, because the world is going to teach them with a lot of hardship, a lot of pain, a lot of sorrow, what you were supposed to when they were growing up, which
mhm,
is, to be respectful, to be proper, not, I'm not saying you're not the equal to somebody. Somebody's older than you. You have to have a level of respect, right? And finesse and whatever to talk to someone. So the way I see it, gentle parenting works in a way that, again, you can be open with your kids, communication, right? Channels of communication, but with respect. I do not subscribe to beat your children up, mistreat them, and make them fear you. I don't subscribe to that. I wasn't a parent that was beating my kids, but what I did demand from them was respect for me and for people that were older than them. My children never call my siblings by their name. They had to call them Uncle so and so, Auntie so and so. If they met someone, Miss so and so, Mr. so and so. If that person will say, "Oh, you don't have to call me that. You can call me Joe or whatever," they'll say, "No, I can't." My mom doesn't like that. So everywhere they go now that they're older, they're very welcome, and they're very, like, a lot of people, that a lot of places my kids have worked, that people tell me, "Wow, it was a delight to have her here. We had, she's such a good worker, she's such a good person," or "He's so respectful, he's always on time." So education on how you want their lives to go on in the outside of your house has to start at home. That's when it starts. And it starts when they're very young, not when they're 12 and 13. It starts when they're very little. That's when all those things have to be put, in their heads, in their minds, in their lives. And it's not until, oh, once they get older, they're going to listen. No, they won't. If you don't teach them to follow rules, to listen, to be respectful when they're young. And I don't mean by beatings. I don't mean by disrespect them, yelling. No, I mean by, you can be soft, but you can be firm.
Mhm.
There's consequences to everything you do, and that's what I taught my children. I'm not saying that when they were little I didn't do a little spanking sometimes, because you're a parent, right? Sometimes they scare you when they do certain things, and you spank them a little because you're like, "Oh my god," and then you feel so bad because you gave them a little pat in the back. I didn't raise them by beating them or scaring them, but I did, brought them up with, they have to respect what I say, and I'm going to be as lenient as I possibly can without, clouding that boundary of, you need to respect me because I'm respecting you. I'm not your best friend, I'm your mother, right?
Mhm.
So I do believe that it's okay, but I think they're taking self parenting to a level that it's not it's not supposed to go.
Listen,
And I
it's
feel
not gonna
bad for the kiddos.
it's not gonna end well because it winds up being a problem for everybody besides the parent. Okay, the kids go to school. Like for instance, they start um Head Start or like the preschool or something like that, and they're not raised to share. They're not raised
Mm,
to say thank you. I'm sorry. They are like it's unbelievable the things that they'll do because at home, if a child is not raised with discipline, rules, but of course everything in love. That's what I believe now at
mhm,
my age and my experiences in life is I believe in love for everything, but discipline with love,
mhm,
not just discipline through anger or being controlling or putting people down or screaming and yelling. I don't believe in that, but we will have rules. There will be consequences to your actions and things like that, and that's just
mhm.
not happening right now. But I feel like we're going into another topic.
But I think it is important to know, that there, it's okay to do it. I did it with not gentle parenting as they call it now. I did it in the same way my father did to me, except that my kids, if they did something, I will follow on whatever I promise I will do if they broke that rule, or if they didn't listen, or if they didn't follow, right? So my dad would say, "Yeah, I'm gonna take this." He never did. So, it didn't work on me anymore. But my kids was different. If they did something, I say, "Hey, if you continue that, you're not gonna watch TV for an entire week." And I kept that. No matter how much they hated it, how much they cried, or I will take your cell phone away. And I don't care how much you cry, or how much you beg, or how much whatever. And I don't care who you talk to, you're not getting it back. Those things are the ones that allow them to say, hey, 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 wait a minute. I need to control, I need to regulate because my mom is not, gonna just give it back to me because I cry or because, she feels bad or in 2 days I get it back. No, if I said a week, if I said a month, that's exactly what was going to be. So I did that. Sometimes I will extend certain things because this is the second time I'm telling you, you don't get it. And also, Miss Marlene, what I will do with my kids, if I ask them to do something and they didn't do it, next time they needed something from me, I wouldn't do it. Mom, but I asked you, yeah, but last month when I asked you to do that, you didn't follow. You didn't do it. So I'm doing the same thing you do. And they will learn that, oh, okay, now I know what it feels because I needed that and now I can get it because my mom, you know what I mean? Like I always make them feel how the things that they did to us, they could feel it in person so they can understand why we were asking or why we were saying things. But self-parenting, to allow your kids to disrespect everyone, to give them everything because you don't want them to cry, to just pamper them in every way, that's not good for them.
Mhm.
You're not
I agree.
teaching them, they're not learning anything.
And what is teaching them is I can get whatever I want. I don't have to listen. I don't have to share, and I'm always right. And that creates monsters.
I saw a clip of a 13-year-old or 12-year-old in a school disrespecting a teacher that I was, if that would have been my kid, I would have been so embarrassed and so enraged by this child because it was very disrespectful, embarrassing. And for a child of that young of an age to behave like that, I can only imagine
Hmm.
what that
But
person's going to be as they get older, taller, wiser, and more chaotic.
but Miss Nexia, something that I always say, how a child acts on the outside is a reflection of what the atmosphere is inside the home, behind closed doors.
Exactly.
Like if you see kids at the store and they're having meltdowns and things, and the parents are so embarrassed and saying, "Oh, don't do that. We don't do that." And the kids are looking at them like, "Yes, we do." Do exactly what they do at home on the outside. So,
Mhm.
been a great topic, Miss Nexie.
Thank you,
I've
Miss
enjoyed.
Marlene, for waiting and for having me.
Yes, it's been. Oh, I can't believe it. It's almost 2.5 hours.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, everyone.
No, but
Sorry about
we had a lot of people hanging in and great comments. And this, if you guys get a chance, go and look it up online or come back. I'm gonna go and get the link and put it in my description box so you guys can look at those 10 questions, and then you can find out for yourself how do you rate. Okay.
mm,
Thank you, Miss Nexie. And I
thank you,
can't
Miss
believe
Marlene.
next week is going to be the 100th
100?
episode.
Oh my God. Any last words, Miss Marlene?
My last words is whatever happened to you in your in your past, from your childhood. It does not have to be a reflection of who you are today. Yes, while traumatic things happen to us, it's not once and for all time. It doesn't mean that your life is set in stone of anger and sadness and all of these things. You can shift into a more positive, productive person. And I always add in, when you do all of those things with therapy, with your faith, and the right support team.
Very well said. For me, it will be, I think for me, it will be for parents. I would love for them to understand that we are just human. Our childhood trauma sometimes came bleeding into the rearing years of our children, but just remember, you are human, you are allowed to make mistakes, and you're allowed to fix those mistakes with communication, with a lot of love, and also with respecting you, because the life that you had before you had children have made you the person that you are today. So again, we are a work in progress as human parents, right? We're not divine, so we are human. We are a work in progress. As long as you know how to, ask for forgiveness and how to fix maybe the wrongs that you have made, um, that's the only thing that you have to look forward to. Don't beat yourself up if you make mistakes. Again, we're just humans and we're going to make them no matter how much therapy we get or how much we think we're not. We will make them, but as long as we fix them in the future and with love and respect, that's all we need. So
I hope-
don't beat yourself up because we're just human. That's all.
Yeah, I love that, Miss Nexie. Thank you so much for tuning in. I always want to say shout out to the mods. Shout out to the channel members and anybody who is new here. Feel free to subscribe. We do the sip and chats every Thursday about 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So thank you, Miss Nexie, and everyone who is here. We hope this is going to help you to do some trauma healing.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you for supporting Miss Marlene. And we'll see you next week.
Yes,
Bye,
thank you
everyone.
guys for episode 100. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I
Okay.
just thought about a Blue's Clues. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. Thank you for having me, Miss Marlene.
Okay.
Have a wonderful night
Yeah,
and have a
everybody.
wonderful weekend, everyone.
Yeah, wonderful weekend. Thank you, everybody. Bye bye.
Bye.